I would like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Suresh S, General Manager South, Rockwell Automation, India, is responsible for leading a team of sales professionals and developing business strategies to meet regional sales, operational, and financial objectives. We welcome you on the stage.
Good afternoon. Mine is perhaps the most complicated of the session in terms of keeping the audience interested, because I'm coming between lunch and the session. And second challenge is, I thought most of the topics which I wanted to cover has already been covered. So I might as well. But having said that, I'm going to look at what has been the topic. And I think ARC has done a good job of splitting the sessions. And the topic which they have given to Rockwell Automation is connected enterprise, which is our theme, but linking it to what it takes to enable the smart manufacturing for today and for future. So I'm going to take a shot at providing you this from various perspectives. One is, what is Rockwell Automation thinking about smart or connected enterprise in the smart manufacturing? Give you an overview of various offerings which we have. Then a couple of interesting case studies with both in the continuous process as well as in the discrete manufacturing. And the last thing which I thought was covered by one of the speakers earlier to me in terms of the execution challenges, as well as what it would do culturally to kind of make this thing into reality in India. So without any further ado, let me go into the overview of so this overview session, I'm going to split it broadly into four broad categories. One is to give you a macroeconomic view and what are the key drivers which is going to happen or which is happening already to enable the smart manufacturing, leveraging the connected enterprise. And then how the Internet of Things, which has already become a reality, how that is going to play into this and how we are going to leverage some of the technologies which are already there. And we'll talk about various, people have touched upon various forums and various broad collaborations which are already there in place for smart manufacturing. And Rockwell is part of Smart Manufacturing Leadership Coalition as a founder member. And finally, the business drivers on why connected enterprise and smart manufacturing is a business imperative. So one of the key takeaway from this macroeconomic view, which I think people should take away, is for folks out here who are coming from both the end user, machine builders, consultants, and technology providers, system integrators. This because of all the drivers which are listed here in this chart, there's going to be enormous challenges and pressure which is going to come on manufacturing, which is going to come on resources, which is going to come on infrastructure. And the middle class which is going to come is going to go and demand for best in class on all these parameters. Hence, the producers of these services and goods, they have a huge challenge of maintaining the customer satisfaction level, meet the price pressures, and so on and so forth. So what the report which has been prepared by McKinsey suggests is there is going to be close to $1 trillion which will be spent on things which are going to help drive productivity, resource productivity across the spectrum on the manufacturing and supply chain. So shifting gears, I'm going to talk about from the macro view what Cisco has done in this area of the Internet of Things, how it is going to play out in various schemes and various broad spectrums. So one of the things which is essential for today's topic is about manufacturing, but this gives you an idea out of the total $14 trillion value which Cisco believes is the productivity gain which can be gained from various Internet of Things technology. Manufacturing alone would contribute to 27%, which roughly translates to $4 trillion of productivity, which is out there for the manufacturing system and this whole supply chain to take care. So further, drilling down on that specific manufacturing cost advantage or productivity gain, that has been kind of further segregated, perhaps equally to the tune of say 800 million against each one of these topics, which is one is asset utilization, which is about the goods manufacturing and cost of goods and the entire chain. Then you have the employee productivity, which essentially talks about how you are going to make your labor more efficient, make more stuff out of a given time, and supply chain and logistics. How do we eliminate wastes? How do we improve efficiencies across that spectrum? And most importantly, the customer experience. We kind of take for granted the level of service, level of lifetime of a given product, which whatever we buy. And most importantly for technology players like Rockwell is the innovation which we put into products, next generation of technology for getting better return on investment for our customers. So going into the smart manufacturing, in terms of the alliance which is out there in US predominantly, but pretty much adopted by many players internationally. Rockwell is one of the founding members, and as you can see in this chart, there's so much of market leaders who are part of this alliance. So one of the key takeaway which I want you to kind of look at from this chart is essentially today in a manufacturing environment, be it continuous process or a discrete manufacturing, it is not just the product which is adding value at each step. Along with the product, there is enormous amount of data which is moving, and it is moving together along with the product, and using the IoT and various other technology which we have, that has to be leveraged for better return on investment. So when we say the various, further drilling down on that same theme, what we believe, and this is again joint study done by Cisco, there's going to, and various industry bodies and labs, there's going to be enormous scope for improvement from what you can see here. This is a global figure. In India, it may be a figure which is either equal or lower. 14% of manufacturers have their machines connected to an enterprise network. So there's enormous scope for improvement. And there's a lab which says that even in a connected enterprise, 21% have some kind of breach in security, some kind of loss in IP, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of data which gets generated. I don't even know what exabyte means, but it's probably enormous amount of data. And whether those data are being leveraged for making decisions faster, whether it is used for doing analytics, analyzing downtime, and what about unscheduled downtimes? That's 3/4, which is caused by old technology, old equipments, which is directly impacting the bottom line of equipments or the plant owner. So the theme here on what we are trying to tell you here is, it's not necessary that you have to go like what some of our earlier speakers spoke about. We don't have to do a big bang transformational connected enterprise sweep. You can do step by step, looking at each one of your challenges, what is it that you want to do, and then go about doing that. Just prior to my speech, Harish spoke about IT and OT, and this is going to give you a reality of how this is coming together. And one other thing which I will cover in the later part of my presentation, it is easier said than done that this convergence of IT and OT is happening. This IT is totally different from OT when it comes to the people who are managing both the assets. IT has a different mindset, the culture, and OT, which essentially which is covering the stuff which is real automation, control systems, drives, and actuators. The people who manage that is pretty different. And it is important as we embark on this journey of connected enterprise that we keep that in mind and take people along. So in terms of technology, today if you look at your plants or any modern manufacturing setup, many of these pieces are already there. They are probably not connected, or part of it is connected. So each one of these individual has a lot of value, and it can bring a lot of productivity to the senior management. But if you put this thing together, and if you integrate it in the manner it would help, the value which it would bring would probably fall in the category of transformational, and that is perhaps some of the things which we will cover in the next following slides. So what is it that Rockwell is trying to bring on these three areas? So one is we have the data analytics, which basically brings all the data which is collected from running machinery on a real-time basis, analyze, provide proactive reports to the maintenance team. Then the second piece is about the cloud and virtualization. Here, you don't have to put enormous amount of capital outlays. You don't have to bother about obsolescence. There are technology available right now with Rockwell, which mitigates and minimizes the downtime, and it helps you in disaster recovery. And it is perhaps you don't even have to buy them. You can kind of lease them on a subscription model. The third piece, which is becoming a reality, is the mobility, where you put all the information to the operator on the field, and you track where that operator is in case of any emergency, and so on and so forth. So drilling further deeper into specifics of what are all the technologies when it comes to both the control side as well as the information side, because we are talking of the IT and OT intersect. So if you will find that this has got the control piece and the information piece. You have common, with Rockwell, you have one common software platform with which you can configure pretty much your, be it a discrete, be it a process, batch, whether it is configuring a drive or a safety equipment or a synchronization of a supervisory system with a real-time system for energy management, synchronization with the grid, and so on and so forth. Then you have the common network infrastructure, which is based on TCP/IP. Then the last piece is how do you use the designing software for optimally designing and have one common look and feel, irrespective of where your plant is, where it is applied. The last piece is on the security. By partnering with Cisco, the security of the equipment, which is important piece, is also ensured. So this is as far as the control side of it. We zoom into the information side. The information side also, we make sure that there is commonality in one software, using the factory talk software, the HMI, the machine intelligence, and right up to the MES. The workflow and the standardization is maintained to one common standard and look and feel. So by having this type of architecture, what is it that we are trying to do? And what is it that as owners of these assets or industry or setup, you are going to make sure that the right information is provided at the right time to the right person, whether it is at the enterprise level where somebody has to take some dynamic decisions on what is happening on the field, or a plant operator who is having to face some real-time situation and deal with it, or a machine builder or an equipment line or a frontline operator. So if we are able to enhance their efficiency and speed of taking decisions, what does it do to the plant? It does two things. One is it increases the productivity of the overall enterprise, and secondly, and most importantly, it also helps driving the profitability. So there are two pieces, going into the types of scenarios. Gautam spoke about discrete industry. So the connected enterprise, we are kind of suggesting that using the same architecture and many of the bricks with which we build this connected architecture, you could possibly use this both for on the discrete as well as process. So we call connected enterprise assets which are either in discrete or in process as smart assets. And smart assets, they have greater computing, greater connectivity, and than distributed assets. Hence, your ability to optimally manage your performance across machines, across lines, plant sites, it tremendously goes up. Now, what is it that, in addition to your initial chart which talked about IT/OT convergence, what is it that Rockwell has done? One is to bring in a whole host of partners both at the OT technology as well as on the IT world. People like Fanuc, Panduit, Henderson and Hauser, they are all part of the OT side. And on the top, I don't have to read them. But most importantly, it's just aligned with, and it is also driving key standards, working with bodies which drive those standards, like be it IEC, be it ISO or IEEE and so on and so forth. So that it enables, it can be deployed globally, it is compliant to any regulatory environment. So this gives you, this kind of summarizes what I wanted to cover with the overview piece with respect to various bits and pieces which helps you put this whole thing together. Now let me take you through a couple of real life examples where Rockwell has used both in the continuous process as well as remote monitoring as well as in discrete process. So this one is an example which was done by Rockwell partnering with Chart Industries. It's for providing LNG refueling stations done by Shell Global. It's remotely, these sites are remote, they are distributed across North American continent, and the truck go to those remote locations to fill up and move on. But remotely, these sites are managed for security, data integrity, and it enables that downtime is optimally managed, that you plan your outages and so on and so forth. So this is one example of real life connected enterprise using the technologies on the remote monitoring. And the best part in that example is that it is scalable. I mean, as the market expands, you can scale it from few hundreds to thousand. The next example is essentially in the oil and gas, where Rockwell has deployed the technology which we call it as digital oil field, right? So you remotely monitor the pumping, monitoring, on-field operations, and you manage the workflow. You look at the costs and also decide where should the next well be drilled, what is the best technology or the solution to be adopted for maximizing production. All this you can manage using real-time data which is collected from the field, which gives you that intelligence at the headquarter level to dynamically change your approach and strategy. The third piece, I think it's closer to what was talked about earlier, but few things which I wanted to kind of capture here. This is a Toyota's example. This is a discrete manufacturing example where the real-time data, actionable information is gathered plant-wide using the analytics. And you know, in real-time, large manufacturing facility like Toyota, there's just going to be too much data for you to act. And aggregation of complex data is critical. And making sense out of that complex data, making the algorithm so that intuitively the operator knows what is to be done. So that's done using the various products and solutions. So they use this technology in multiple plants, and they try to look at what is working well in one plant, be it real-time error correction, minimizing reworks, whether this paint shop in this place is working well in a plant in Kentucky or in some other Alabama. So there is constant comparison and there is constant benchmarking, which directly helps Toyota save cost. And the best practices can be adopted and scalable. So this is basically the live example of what we talked about in the overview of right information to the right experts at the right time. Now, coming to the concluding part of my presentation, I'm going to talk about, see, these are all fine, right? I mean, we have shown we can do this, and we have shared with you various things. So where does it take you, in your respective thought process of implementing connected enterprise, in whichever stage of this journey you are in? So we believe that the challenges in implementing connected enterprise are manifold. One is, it's important that the organization from top to bottom is aligned on this journey. The second thing is the talent, the competent people available at each function, be it on the IT side or in the OT side, and the ability to adopt technology. Whether you have, so you might want to test out who adopts technology faster, what type of technology. Then it's important that the data security piece is taken care, a policy and procedures are laid and never compromised. And most importantly, make sure that pieces which are getting into this connected enterprise at various stages of your journey, the interoperability standards are maintained, be it on the data, be it on the hardware. So there are three pieces. One is people, product, and technology. So we need to make sure that the right experience and knowledge which we have gained on the journey is put on a closed loop and constantly evolved. So coming to the execution model, if you have overcome all those evaluation, you have done your study, how do you go about evaluating? You have to first assess where you are on this journey and make sure that you have all the policies, procedures is all taken care of. So each department is different, each entity is different, each plant location is different. You have to make sure that we take a closer look at all those aspects and develop and provide and gradually go on this journey of how you want to go about doing this connected enterprise. So this is basically what I wanted to cover in terms of how this connected enterprise and smart manufacturing is panning out in future. So I would leave with the question, are you ready, and how can we help? Before I close, I just wanted to take a small snapshot. I wanted to touch upon, many of you would know Rockwell, and but still I just wanted to leave you with the big picture of what is Rockwell. It is perhaps, in fact, we are the largest company in the world that is solely focused on industrial automation, because that's our only business, and we pride ourselves in driving technology innovation, a very deep domain expertise in all industry verticals we serve, and last and most importantly, a culture of integrity and very high level of corporate social responsibility, which is what is captured in this page. With that, thank you very much.